Well, this is the day the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Hope TV. I certainly want to thank you and appreciate you for your viewership. It means the world to us. I mean, just imagine we had our first broadcast on March 19th. Many of you who follow us a while know we've been doing media for a very, very long time. My entire life I've been involved in media and been blessed to do it professionally for the past 5, 10 years. But who would have ever imagined that we'd be needing to do this in the pandemic? On March 19th, we started a platform called the Hope TV. And in just a short while, Hope TV has grown from one broadcast entitled Pastoring in the Pandemic on March 19th. So now we have 20 shows that we're offering each week. What an incredible blessing. And in just 30 days, our programs are viewed about over 5 million people throughout our cumulative platforms. And I'm certainly just amazed and overwhelmed by it. And I appreciate you. We want to bring some positive content to the world and provide you with a daily dose of hope. I hope you've been inspired and encouraged. And if you've been empowered or impacted in any way via the Hope TV, why don't you consider following us on all things social media? You can follow us, of course, on Instagram and on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook. You also can subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Hope TV. And that way you'll be informed when a new content is uploaded. You also can follow our church on all things social media. House of Hope ATL on Instagram and Twitter, and Periscope, House of Hope Atlanta on Facebook, and also the House of Hope Atlanta on YouTube. I want to thank all of our viewers who tuned in from Apple TV, from Roku TV, or from Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, those who are watching Periscope, those who are watching through our website, the edewittsmith.org page, the House of Hope ATL page, or those who are even viewing through the House of Hope Atlanta app. I want to just thank you. Your support means the world to us. And while you're watching, drop us a line. Let us know the city, the state from which you're viewing, because we take your viewership very seriously, and our team is going to go through it. We want to know the demographics of those who are watching, and we try to bring content that's specific to your specific region. So I want to thank you for that. So drop us a line. Let us know city, state, and country in which you're viewing. And also, if you're watching via a platform that you're able to subscribe or like or send this link or drop a comment, please do so now. I want to thank our team. They have been working around the clock literally for the past 6 weeks. And as you know, every day we're bringing you 5, 6, 7, 8 shows every day. And no person is stronger than a team. Please know that. You may see my face more regularly than the rest. Without my team, there is no Hope TV, there is no E. Dewey Smith, and there's no ministry. So a special shout out to our media and marketing team and our technology department. They've been working harder through the pandemic than they were before the pandemic, even though they're a hardworking bunch. I love you guys so much. Thank you for trying to be connected to people and just inspire people. There's so much bad news. It can be so depressing. And sometimes we focus on the spiritual and the physical elements, but we sometimes forsake our emotional and our mental aspects of us. And I think it's important that we are balanced in our approach to bring programming. So I hope you've been inspired. Hope you've been impacted and encouraged. One of the things that's made this show so special, you're watching Grown and Sexy for singles over 40. It's been probably our flagship show, if not, it's arguably our top show, because sometimes most of our emphasis is placed on millennials and those who are younger. And of course, we can't leave anybody out, but our church is one church that ministers to 5 generations. And so we believe in multi-generational content and multi-generational connection. And sometimes in our organizations, we omit those who, like me, who are over 40. And so this is so exciting to see so many people who are just inspired and encouraged and impacted by having content that's specific to that particular demographic. So thank you so very much for your support. I love y'all so much, and I appreciate you. Hope you're being safe and practicing wisdom. And now we're getting ready to get into our grown and sexy conversation. Tonight is going to be incredible because we're not talking about the importance of relationships, or we're not focusing on men trying to get women or women trying to be prepared for men. This is all about being single and satisfied. This is all about ladies who are bosses in their own right. They're doing it. Appreciate relationship, love to have it if need be, but they've learned how to do their thing on their own and appreciate whatever God has for them in their future. So some incredible people here tonight, and I want to begin with them. One is a mother of 3 grown children. She's been working in technology. She's also been working in media ministry, has a magnetic personality and is a servant. She's a Georgia peach, and she's here with us. I want to welcome Vanessa Clarke to Grown and Sexy. What's up, Vanessa? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Glad to have you. Good to see you tonight. And secondly, we have another who's here. She's a native of Chicago, Illinois. Moved here to Atlanta to attend Clark Atlanta University. She's a graduate of Clark, and she's an HBCU grad. Thank God for her. My AUC sister, she's here. She works in entertainment. She works in music. She works in media, and she has an incredible thing. She is a singer. She can sing, she can write, she can sing her own song and write her own write, produce her own produce. And we're glad to have her here with us. That's Erica Alexander. How you doing, Erica? Welcome.
Erica Anderson. Erica Alexander's an
Erica,
actress.
you know what? That might be prophetic. All right. All right. Yeah. You know, you're exactly right. Erica Anderson. My welcome, Erica Anderson. But that
Thank
may mean something. Right? May mean something. All right. And last but not least, we have a native of Cleveland, Ohio, and who's now a resident in Tampa, Florida. Has an incredible story. Her background is in that of chemistry. As a matter of fact, she has her doctorate in chemistry, and she's moved from being having a doctorate in chemistry, and for the last 17 years, she's been an entrepreneur. She owns her own spa. She works in the beauty industry, and has just written an incredible book. Has another one coming out, and I love the title of the book that she's written. She's going to talk about it in a moment, but she has blogs. She's doing a lot in terms of social media and print media. We're glad to have her here tonight. Dr. Marnita on fire. Dr. Marnita, how are you?
Glad to be here. I'm so excited and so ready to get this party started.
Well, let's go. Glad to have you here tonight. I appreciate it. When I listen and to all of your stories, and the producers of this segment kind of told me what the direction was of the show, I was just so amazed and so appreciative of them for sharing that with us. And I want to start with you, Dr. Marnita, since we introduced you last. I want you to just kind of tell your story, your journey. How did you migrate from Cleveland to being in Tampa? Just tell us your story.
Um, Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, always be my home, but I was educated there, got my bachelor's, master's, and my PhD in chemistry there at Case Western University. And after the formal education part, I was a professor of chemistry in Michigan at Kettering University for 3 years. But something just wasn't right for me at the time, because even though I had the acumen to learn the sciences and was very good at math, I had a desire and a passion for the beauty industry. And so that led me to quitting my job, a $70,000 a year job, and going to cosmetology school to learn, to get the license to provide beauty enhancement services. And what I really didn't know then that I know now, beauty enhancement services for me is not about putting polish on nails. It's more about helping people align with their own truth and helping them about themselves on the inside, so they can start to look on the outside, so they can begin on the inside to feel empowered, to feel confident. And so that's what I do. That's how Dr. Marnita on Fire was born. But that road led me to Tampa, Florida, in which it was a life experience. You know, God has a way of breaking you to get you to go to a place where he can have you in a place where, you know, he can really speak to you. And that took me to Tampa, Florida, and I opened up my second spot. And along that journey, what happened was I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer over 10 years ago. And transitioning from Ohio to Tampa gave me a lot of self-reflection on how I was able to align with my own truth, because I found myself I was really living based on what was objective to me and not living what was internally important to who I was on the inside. And taken me away from something that was really familiar to me, my surroundings, to some place that I didn't know very many people, allowed me to get in touch with my own truth. And so that landed me in Tampa, Florida, and I've been here for 10 years now, and it's been a great journey.
Wow, beautiful story. I can't wait to kind of come back and kind of unpack that story a little more. Erica, your story is beautiful as well. You moved here from the Midwest. Like Dr. Marnita, you came to be a student. Kind of tell us your journey from Chicago to Atlanta to where you are now. Let's hear your story.
I made a pit stop when I was graduated from high school, from the eighth grade going into high school. My dad came home and told her we were going to move back to Mississippi, where they're from. So I ended up going to high school in Jackson, Mississippi, and I was not happy about that. But I heard about, then it was Clark College, and that's telling my age a little bit. But I heard about Clark College and decided I want to go to that school. So I came here, got accepted, came here for college, moved to California years later, stayed there for 5 years, and that was not home. Atlanta's home. So a few years ago, I moved to New Jersey for a job opportunity, and that was not home. I came back, and I've been here back since November. But I majored in history, never worked a day in history. I've been working in media for about 20 years. And my boyfriend is an entertainer, and I work with him we're business partners, and I work with him with music, and I do everything from soups to nuts with him. And I just started my own podcast back in March, and it's just my turn to encourage people and to encourage people basically to find their own peace and their own love and their own joy. So that's kind of me.
Great, crazy story. Thanks for sharing. Vanessa, you are a peach, Georgia born, Georgia raised, and you've been here and raised three beautiful children here. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So my story, yes, born and raised in Georgia. I married when I was in my 30s. It didn't work out. I was disobedient because I was warned not to marry my ex-husband, but I did it anyway because I was so caught up in emotions. So I did it, and I was warned that I would suffer. And everything that was prophesied to me, I actually went through everything that was prophesied to me, which caused me to be on a path today that I would not do anything that God doesn't give me permission to do. So it taught me a lot. It was a struggle. It was a lot of work to raise three kids by myself. I wanted to make sure I was there in their life because so many kids get lost when they get divorced, and I didn't want my kids to have that impact where that will have an impact on them as they get older. Then they have to seek counseling for that. So dating for me wasn't such a big deal for me. My kids was priority for me. So I put a lot of stuff on back burner, but at the same time, it's a blessing because all my kids all went through school. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have to worry or go to bed at night crying, worrying about where they are or what they're into. So I really thank God for, even though I was disobedient, I really did learn a lot in that being disobedient.
It's amazing how everybody has, moments of crisis, moments of sometimes hurt, devastation. Sometimes it's a crisis of faith. Sometimes it's something that makes you kind of evolve into something else. And Dr. Martin, you kind of got into it when you gave your introduction. How in the world does somebody go to school, bachelor's, master's, PhD in chemistry, a professor, and all of a sudden, everything that you placed all that energy, all those years into, you're now working in something that's completely opposite of what you spent a lot of your years doing. My question is, do you see a common thread, or is there anything that you did in terms of chemistry that you utilize now? I want to see, because I just believe sometimes in our lives everything is autobiographical, and I just believe sometimes nothing is wasted, no moments are wasted. You know that sometimes we do things and we shift to something else, but it's not as if we wasted time before. My question to you would be: do you see any parallels? How did chemistry prepare you for the beauty industry? Is there a connection, and what is that connection?
Of course, in the beauty industry, it's all about chemistry. You have, whether it's nail polish or it's skincare, the products that you put on your skin is all chemically based, and it's all interactive with the chemicals that are on your skin. And so having that knowledge gave me the confidence, even though I didn't have much experience in the beginning. My specialty was skincare. So being able to have a conversation, a real conversation with people with skincare issues, and how the products that they were using was really not the best for them. And everybody's skin is not the same. And so you have to be careful as to what type of products you're using on your skin, because the way your skin reacts to something may be totally different. You may have some type of underlying chemical process that's going on within your body that's rejecting certain skincare lines. And so just to be able to have that type of conversation with my background being an asset to me made a great difference in how I was able to be as successful as I am within this industry. Nothing is
That's
ever lost.
great. Indeed. You know, Erica, you went to school, you're a chemistry major, and I mean history major, and from history you're now in entertainment. You're a songwriter. Do you see any connections? Do you see, is there any way history prepares you for where you are right now? Do you see it yet?
No. I think part of it is um, the research. I'm very diligent about researching things. So that's helpful, I guess. History was more of a hobby, and it was something that I could tell my parents I was doing that would make them feel better about me not being in music. Because my first love is music. I'm sorry, my dog heard a noise and now he's barking.
That's fine. That's a good
But,
dog.
um,
Good boy.
there we go.
I
Okay, he's
love it.
protecting me.
I
so,
love dogs. Yeah.
so the research part of it and the love for learning is part of it. Okay, thank you.
No, he's okay. He's
Thank
okay. Don't
you.
worry about him. He's doing his job. Yeah, he's doing his job.
He
We,
is
we,
doing
we,
his
we
job.
get it.
He's a good boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And true to the music, his name is Sir Duke, like the Stevie Wonder song.
I
So
got you.
yeah,
I got
and now he's singing. But yeah, no, there's not really a connection at all, except for me loving to learn and read and do research and things like that.
you. Yeah, that's a connection. So it's still you, just in a different lane. So let me ask you this:
Yes,
Are you different now than you were when you were at Clark? So maybe the field is
absolutely,
different, but are you different? How's that?
absolutely. I graduated from high school at 16. So when I stepped on Clark's campus in 1987, I was a month into being 17 years old. So I was a kid. I knew nothing about life. I was sheltered. I didn't do anything my parents didn't do with me up until that point. So Atlanta, being you know what it's like being in the AUC. It grows you up
Absolutely.
really fast, or you're a hellion, one of the two. so 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 that's different about me. And then having moved around a little bit, when I lived in California, I got married at 35, and well, actually 3 weeks before my 35th birthday, and it was another situation very similar where that was not who I was supposed to marry, but he said all the right stuff, and then we got married, and a month in, it was like he came home and turned on a light and said, "This is who I am, and you said you were going to stay." And it ended up being abusive, and I had to really learn. Even at 35, I was a daddy's girl. I really had to learn how to go, wait a minute, no, this is who I am, and this is what I believe in, and this is what I stand for. And you said, let's pray, and we're not. So we need to pray. And if you're not going to pray with me, I know who my provider is. And so it took me coming home, and when I came back to Atlanta, I would tell all my friends, nope, call me Mara, because I'm done. You know, this is over. And so it took me going through that process. And then again, being a daddy's girl in 2015, my father passed away. And my biggest fear was that he would pass away alone. And he did. And my sister and I were trying to make it to him. And as we were flying, he lived in Las Vegas. And as we were flying, as we were in the air, he passed away. He coded 7 times before we even got the call that he was in the hospital. And then while we were in the air, he coded for the 8th and final time. And today I can look at that number and say, okay, new beginnings, I'm good. But at the time, I felt the guilt of, I should have called him one more time. I didn't make it. My biggest fear was that. And there were all these issues and all these things that I had to deal with and grow out of, and went into therapy and all kinds of things. And all of that led me to Pray, Love, Grow. And so, yeah, I'm a grown up now. And when I was at Clarke, I was not at all.
Yeah, Vanessa, we talk about this whole theme of pain, and you were very, very demonstrative and very expressive when you talked about the mistakes you made in getting married and what you learned from it. Do you think you're better now? You think you're stronger now? Have you forgiven yourself for that moment? How have you grown since that divorce?
Yes, I am better. I am stronger. It was rough because when I got divorced, my son he wasn't even a year old yet. So it was rough in the sense of trying to nurture my son so that he won't feel the pain that I was feeling on the inside. And it was excruciating pain. It was a struggle learning how to not cry in front of them so they couldn't see the hurt that I was experiencing at the time. But it did allow me to grow closer to God. And I tell you, that mistake allowed me to really listen when he tells me not to do something, because I suffered so greatly. It's like now I don't want to say paranoid, but I really think about everything when he cautions me and tell me, hey, don't do that. And then I try my best to listen at heed to what he tells me to do and what he tells me not to do because of what I went through. So it has made me stronger in the sense that I listen to him more intensely now and follow what he tells me to do.
That's good. Dr. Marnita, I'm gonna come at you in a minute, Vanessa, to pick that bone some more. We talk about this whole thing of pain, and you mentioned your stage 3 cancer diagnosis. Now, what part of that diagnosis, your cancer journey, was that in your story? Was that when you were in chemistry? Was that when you were in the beauty industry? When did that happen, and how have you been changed since that?
How have I been changed since the cancer? Well, I was in the beauty industry.
When did it happen, and when?
Okay, I was diagnosed in 2009, and it was in the midst of the recession of 2007, 8, 9. And I remember being under a lot of stress. And what I know now is that stress, anxiety creates chemicals that is not very favorable to your body. And I didn't know that then. All I knew that my business wasn't doing well. I lost my health insurance, and I felt this lump, and I didn't have insurance. I had to figure it out and find a way to find out what was going on with my body. And it turned out, unbeknownst to me, because I was so focused on building this business and was not paying attention to myself, and turned out stage 3 breast cancer. And the whole journey, what I learned about it, most times when I would tell people, say, oh, I'm so sorry, but it was truly a gift, because I was so focused on what was going on outside of myself. I never took the time to find out who Marnita was. Who is Marnita? And God was like tapping me on that shoulder, like, you're not paying attention to me. So I'm going to have to just like shake some stuff up in you so I can get your attention. And so that's the way I look at it. He needed my attention, and that was the only way that he could get it, because my ego was in charge at the time. God, you to be like paying attention to like things that is not about him. And so I wasn't paying attention to him. And so it led me to leave Ohio and come to Florida. And I didn't know why I was coming to Florida, but when I look back on it now, I was coming to Florida to learn more about myself. I was coming to Florida to learn more about the true essence of the power that is within me. And that whole journey has been so transformational for me that it has allowed me to do things that I used to think that was not for me, or I used to think that was available for me. But through the strength and the power and the presence of I know now that I did not know then, the stage 3 cancer was truly God's gift.
You wrote a book, and when the producers gave you the book title, I think it's amazing. I kind of want to put it in context in terms of your life. It's called Divorcing Your Story and Marrying Your Truth.
Yeah.
What a book title. I want to hear
good.
more about that. I mean, where's all that coming from? That's a heavy bomb you just dropped, just in terms of just the title itself. Talk about that. Divorcing Your Story and Marrying Your Truth.
Marry your truth. Because growing up, we are started with all of these things that, whether they're your community or your family members, that they give you. And we unconsciously accept that as our truth, as our story. And what we find out, if we are aware enough as we continue to grow, something just doesn't feel right. You're carrying not meant to carry. So it is not your story. And so once you start to figure out, go in and figure out what is authentically mine, what is authentically true to me, you have to uproot a whole lot of stuff in order to live your best life. Because if you don't do that, what's found to be true, you're living other people's life. And that's their, it was never meant for you to carry it. And so Divorce Your Story, Marry Your Truth is a platform that I created to help people release their limiting beliefs about themselves, because the beliefs that they're carrying along in their lives is someone else's story. It's not necessarily their truth.
That's good.
That's the platform. So from that, I began writing this book called Latch Keys to Your Soulful Self, which is a whole nother conversation.
I'm gonna come back to that. We got to come back and talk about it in a minute. I want to put some more meat on that bone. Erica, you're now doing podcasts. You do music. You express yourself through music. You're a singer. You do your own backgrounds. What is your aim with the podcast? Because it's something you're creating content, so you're both creatives. So in this podcast, what gave impetus to this? What is it all about? What is your message? What are you trying to convey through the podcast?
Well, very similarly, the main thing is a lot of times we go through things, and I love that divorcing the story, because a lot of times the story is created for us, or we feed into it, just to play on that. But it's more about, people don't choose to be happy. There was a time when I lived in New Jersey, and I was going through so much stuff, and I was so stressed out all the time. And so I sought help. I said, okay, I need to see a therapist. I need to figure this out. And thank God this therapist she wasn't a believer. Christianity wise, but she was Hindu. And so she encouraged, listen, you need to pray. Your prayer life is garbage right now, and you need to pray. You need to sit in silence and meditate. You need to hear from God. And a lot of times when we're in the midst of going through things, first of all, we think if we get help, we're going to be weak. That's not strength. And the strength is getting the help. And then the second thing is, the first thing that goes when we're not feeling ourselves, when we're feeling underwater, when we're feeling down, the first thing that goes is our prayer life. And so we have to return to that. And it's a conversation with God. It's not, and I'm preaching to the choir, but it's not, God, I need, and I hope that you give. It's a conversation. God, I love you and you're my provider. And we got to tell God who he is to us and in our lives. So we do that. And then the more we start to be thankful, the better we feel. And the better we feel, the better choices we make and the decisions to love ourselves and to take care of ourselves. Listen, we can be in relationships all we want, but that's not going to give us everything we need. What we need comes from God and then through us and then outward. And so my hope is that not just women, but men will hear that message and identify with it and say, you know what? I'm going to choose to love in spite of. I'm going to choose joy and happy today, and I'm going to go out and instead of looking at people cross-eyed when they're coughing when they're walking down the street, I'm going to ask them, are they okay? I'm going to extend compassion to someone, and I'm going to have compassion for myself. It took a minute for me to forgive myself for not doing the things that I thought I should have done. My father knows that I love him. He still knows that I love him, and so having that self-compassion, if people can understand that once we do those things, listen, if women, that dude will be better for it. Your relationship with that guy will be better for it because you're loving yourself the way you want to be loved, and so they have no choice but to follow suit. And so my prayer is that people kind of grasp that idea. And if we put that all out in the world, this coronavirus thing, this COVID-19, it'll be dead because we'll kill it with our love and our healing and our compassion for one another. And so I sound a little bit like Marianne Williamson right now, but.
No, that's good. Yeah, what I love about the conversation is, and I want to hit on that because I think it's so important. And because one of the things we really focused on here at our ministry is the importance of this mental health. And sometimes people in the faith community, we demonize the sciences, and we over spiritualize, and we over demonize everything. And unfortunately, when it comes to mental health, we begin to think, many people believe, just like I've heard people say about coronavirus, don't put a mask on. I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, and so the blood of Jesus is going to protect me. Don't practice social distancing. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to mental health, people think I say a scripture, I'm going to come to the altar and get prayed for, or get hands laid on me. Well, right now we can't lay hands on you. Right now we can't come to the altar. And so the whole importance of therapy, I want you to hit on that because I do believe that when this pandemic is over, I'm thinking that we're severely underestimating the importance of how this is going to affect us, not just financially, but from a mental health perspective. Would you talk about that therapy just a little bit more? Because I think it's very important that people hear about that we break down
Yeah.
the stigma in the faith communities, that mental health is okay, it's not your enemy. I can be a
Yes.
person of faith, but still understand the importance. I can have Jesus and a therapist simultaneously. Would you talk about that for a moment,
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I have my middle sister is a therapist, and so I kind of get free services. She sends me an invoice every once in a while, but recognizing that there's something, even though I'm praying, there's something that's still missing. Recognizing that even though I knew when I was going through this period in my life that God is my source. Period. There is no comma. There's no semicolon. There's no ellipsis. He is. That's it. And as we used to say at my church, if God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. Amen. That's it. So I knew that here in my heart and in my head, but there was something missing. And I had the wherewithal to say, you know what? I need to go talk to somebody. And even then, it took me weeks to actually um, allow the layers of the onion to be unpeeled, because we have to be honest with ourselves and with the therapist. And so, she was gonna cut back my time. I was going every week, and she was gonna say, no, let's just do it every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. And then I went, okay. And then I peeled some more layers of this onion, and she goes, wait a minute, where was that? And I said, I didn't trust you with it. And she goes, wait a minute, this whole thing's based on trust. And so we have to be honest with ourselves, with the therapist, and it's strong. It's strong to say, you know what, I can't handle this. It's not a wrong thing to say, you know what, I'm praying and that's enough. Sometimes it's just not. Sometimes we need that conversation, and we need to be able to bounce that idea off other people, and for them to say, you know what, no, you're not crazy, talk to yourself, answer yourself, it's fine.
Indeed. That's awesome. Vanessa, let me ask you this question. Um, you said something that's important. I want to kind of tap into it for a moment. You talked about, when you went through the divorce, your children. And you made a statement that you didn't think about dating because you want to put all your energy into your children. So I want to talk. I want to know, for the other single mothers who are out there, or the other people who are in your situation, who are going through what you went through. I want to talk about two things. Number one, how did you overcome that, and what kind of words of encouragement would you give to a single mother who's going through divorce right now and trying to put it all together? Number one, and number two, um, when you said you dating was not a priority, do you regret that now? Um, how do you blend in dating as you come out of divorce? When is it time to start dating again? Because at the same time, but I do think that healing is important. At the same time, those kids are going to be grown one day, and so when is it time to to do, not just for your children, but some self care? Because that's what I'm kind of hearing the theme of this whole show. At some point, you got to look out for you, because those children are going to be gone. And if you put all your emphasis and time in them, what happens when they're gone? Do you lose your own identity as a woman? So, two things. What advice do you give to the women who are going through divorce, who are broken, who are feeling that pain that you felt? And number two, how do you find yourself again as a woman? Not as a mother, not as an employee, not as a worker, not as a volunteer in church, but how do you find yourself again as a woman?
Okay, so let me share. So you asked me earlier, but I didn't answer that question directly. And what did I learn out of what I went through? Now, what it caused was for it allowed me to build my own personal relationship with God. Because as kids, when we grow up, we live our life based on the stories that we were told from our parents. A lot of times, we live that as our relationship. So you don't have that true relationship until you go through something on your own. And can your brother, your mother, your sister, they can't help you. Only God can heal your heart. And it took some years. So for the first few years, now I didn't say I didn't date. It just wasn't priority. Now I would meet guys, but if there was something about them, I didn't waste my time with them. I just put it off. Um, I don't regret not really dating a lot, because one of my concerns was marrying someone that will come in and try to help me raise my kids. And a lot of times men, they'll accept the mother, but they won't accept that child. And I didn't want to fall into that, because I love my kids. They were priority. Okay. And from dating, you can date, but I'm just slow. So now I am beginning to rediscover me, because all my time were invested in my kids. So now I'm beginning to do the things that I like to do. I don't have to rush home from work anymore. I don't have to answer to anybody. If I don't want to cook, I don't have to cook for anybody. So it's all about me now.
Nice.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So in terms of, you said you did date. At what
I did.
point, did you feel comfortable or healed enough that you thought that I can go out and date again? Because I know you went through a bad divorce, but at what point did you feel ready to date again?
It wasn't until I want to say about 4 years. And the reason why I waited so long, I didn't want to, because I was still attached to my ex-husband. And I didn't want to date someone knowing that if he was to say, hey, let's reconcile, I would have went back to him. And I didn't want to hurt the next person that I was dealing with. So I waited to give myself that space to detach myself from something that I wasn't supposed to be attached to.
That's good. That's great. So you waited until you were completely free, so you won't bring anybody else into that. That's great. You know, Dr. Marnita, I want to hit back that story again. You kind of dropped the nugget on the new book. But when you talk about divorcing your story, when did you find out what your story was and what needed to be divorced?
For me, it was all about the potentiality of what was possible. And I felt that I was living so beneath my potential. And there had to be a reason. There were things that are transgenerational. It didn't just start with my parents. It goes back to my grandparents, great grandparents, because your genetics, your biology, your beliefs are transmutable from generation to generation, and you grow up to believe those things. And if you're aware enough of who you think you are, it takes a lot of courage to break that resistance. And I knew for sure there was more in me that I had to share that I wasn't able to because of the beliefs, because I wasn't born in a rich family, I can't be rich. And I know people say money is not everything, but it's pretty important. And I was living from a mindset of limited abundance. I knew that for sure. But I'm always checking my account. I'm always fearful that I won't have enough. That's saying something. That's saying something about what I was holding on to that I had to let go. And so I got out of the habit of saying I'm trying, because when you say things like you're trying to do whatever it is, you're holding on to an excuse as to why you won't do it, just in case things don't pan out the way you want them to pan out. So I don't say that anymore. I just do. And so what I've also learned is that as long as I keep remembering the things that I have done in my past and I don't do that anymore, I will forever perpetuate my past into my future. So I had to let go of things and create a new. And the only way that I can create a new is focus on unknown. What don't I know? And what do I want to create? Because I can't create something new if I'm still carrying old stuff with me. So that's how I figure out what I needed to let go. And we all have things that we need to let go.
Let me ask you this question. We talk about this. I don't want to be presumptuous here, but the producers told me your age, and I don't believe in telling people's age. But when they told me your age, because we're trying to be diversified with this show, and when they told me your age and what I see is totally different from what I expected. I don't want to tell your age.
I tell it. So I'll be 58 this year.
Yes, queen.
This year. And it's pretty amazing. So I didn't know 58 could look so good. So yeah, I feel grown and I feel sexy. And most of my friends are like 20 and almost 30 years younger than me. It's pretty interesting that I have such a circle of people around me that's like 20 and 25 years my junior. But I am glad that I'm in a position that I am, because I get to inspire them with almost 30 more years of experience. And the experience and the knowledge, that's the wisdom. That's the wisdom that you can impart on a community, and they don't have to live with the same fears and the same stresses and the same anxiety that I felt that I grew up with. And it's no not taking away anything from my family, because I come from a great family, but it's community. It's people telling you, well, just because you're this, you can't do this. Or people would tell me in chemistry, well, you're a Black woman in chemistry, you can have pretty much any job you want, and you're going to make a ton of money. And I believe that, but that's not what I want. That was their truth. That wasn't not my truth. My truth was the beauty industry. My truth was creating what the best that I can to help people live their best life in the beauty industry. And so I had to undo all of that. Yes, a bachelor's, master's, PhD in chemistry. I had to undo all of that stuff so I can get to my authentic self to create anew for people in the beauty industry, to help them believe in their self-worth, their confidence, to help them transform to be courageous and bold and step out like, yeah, I got this. My nails look good, but I got this too.
You know,
Love it.
that's so wonderful. Erica, that's wonderful. Erica, in that same vein,
Yes, sir.
that's wonderful.
Mhm.
You know, you talked about the ambivalence your parents had and how you went to history at Clarke instead of music. So you had some musical aspirations, or you were musically inclined way back, you know, when you were going into undergraduate. But in order to
Yes.
appease your parents, you know, as Dr. Dr. Oz just talked about, you allowed their story really to become
Mhm.
yours. So
Absolutely.
when did you begin that process of stripping that onion to find you in terms of music, your musical abilities? How did you evolve
Mhm.
in that direction?
Well, I started singing at a young age, and when I was in high school, I sang in a gospel group, which was like a community choir, kind of like the Kirk Franklin thing. We were doing that way before. And when I graduated from high school, the guy who was over this group said, "Okay, if you stay in Mississippi and go to college here, I have a recording contract for you. But if you choose to go to Atlanta, I can't help you." So I went, "Okay, then, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And I'll just go to Atlanta." Now, my parents, I turned down 5 scholarships to colleges in Mississippi because they were music scholarships. And Clarke was not offering me a music scholarship. So my parents said, "Okay, if you go there, you got to pay for it yourself." And I went in debt and said, "Okay, I'll get a loan." And so it kind of started there where I decided, nope, I want to do it the way I want to do it, and I'm going to do it this way because I like history. And if you think I'm going to be a teacher, then that's fine, whatever. I'm doing this for you because you want me to go to college. I really wanted to try to get a recording contract in Atlanta. And so I kind of put it to the side, and I was singing in a girl group with a good girlfriend of mine who's like a sister. And we would get into these places where God would just open doors for us to meet these people, but the situation never felt right. It was always, it's 3 young ladies and you're in the studio with us guys, and so which one of you are going to sleep with me so that you can get this music done? And that was such a turnoff for me that I was like, "Okay, I'll go get a job. I'm fine. I don't have to do I don't have to do this anymore." So that at that point, it made my parents happy that I got a real job. But yeah, it was one of those things where you want mommy, daddy, this is what you want from me, and this is what I'll do. And I would do things like interview them for, in the 60s, were you scared when you had to march? And, all that kind of stuff. My father would always tell us about when he marched with King, and we learned about Emmett Till when I had to be like 6 years old when I found out about Emmett Till. And so I would like talk to them about this stuff so they would think, "Oh, this is good. You're going into debt for a good reason." But no.
So what kind of music are you doing now? What kind of music are you working on?
um I actually am focusing on the podcast, and I work with my boyfriend on his music, which is R&B. We are a two-man crew, and I don't even write with him anymore. I write more poetry than anything, but I get writer's credits for the ideas. Um, but he does R&B. He's here local, and he's good old church boy, so everything sounds like commissioned, and we just have a good time. But I don't really do the music much except for with him right now, because it's an investment.
Gotcha.
Ladies, I'm making an investment, and so he thinks that, oh, I'm a fan, and oh, you'll just love anything I do. No, because this is an investment and I want a return, so I want it to be good. And so I have a vested interest in, no, I don't want you to wear that. I want you to wear this, because this is going to sell records.
I love it. Vanessa, you spend a lot of time volunteering in ministry, and you got a servant and a heart. You're always serving. I want you to talk about the importance and how you've been able to do that while you work and while you parent. You're always a valuable, volunteer wherever you've gone. Where does that come from, and what does that do for you?
I'm going to say it's another gift that I have to serve. It just comes easy. It's just like someone asks me, and then it's like I just have the heart to just like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do it. God just allowed it where I could balance it with the kids and still give the attention that they need, and then still serve as He instructed me to serve. So it's just like my heart just goes out to any and everybody when they need. If I see a need and I'm able to help, and God tell me not to help them, in that case, no, I don't. But when He put it on my heart to do so, then I just do it. It's like I was
Obedient.
I was born to do it. I don't know how to explain it except for it's
Yeah,
just in me.
it's who you are. I'll tell you who you are. Dr. Marnita, let's talk about this new book, this new concept. I'm still trying to unpack the divorce your story, marry your truth. I want to shift to this new concept. I think you haven't released it yet, but I want to hear more about this one as well, because that first one was, I'll be digesting that all week. But let's talk about this new book you got coming out.
Latch Keys to Your Soulful Self. When I was younger, they didn't have daycare like they do today. So our parents, we would go to school, they would give us a key that you would put around your neck. And so that was for us to come home, walk home from school, let ourselves in the door. The term was called latch key. Let yourself in the door. You would call your parents and say, I made it in safely. And of course, they would be home in a couple of hours. And so as I'm working out, I'm like, how do I share the journey that I've been on to find out who I am authentically? And that whole latchkey concept what it meant to me is I was using that key as a child to go into an empty house to explore. And so that's what I found myself doing as I started to evolve and learn more about me. There are some immutable principles, there's a lot of them that we use unconsciously. So I just decided to begin to write them in a book as a devotional that become aware of these principles, which allows you to grow personally and also allows you to get to your higher self-awareness. Because when you're aware of these principles that makes you a better you, what happens is that's where you focus your attention and that's where your energy goes. And the only thing that can come out of that is a creative state of being, because you're not operating as a robot, habits that you're not conscious of. So the latch keys are the principles It's almost you have all these keys. In Ohio, we used to have a character at Christmas. His name was Mr. Jingling. He was the master of all the keys. And so latch keys to yourself have all of these keys on one big ring that you use to find out your own truth, your own higher self-awareness, so you can grow personally and evolve to be your best self.
That's good.
That's awesome. You know,
It's
I want to
all
ask you.
about that is your seed of the soul. That's your seed of the soul, and that's what it speaks to you. So if it's not within, it's not without. It's not objective to you. Everything that's important to you, and that means everything to you, is subjective. I found my kingdom, and the key to that kingdom was through these latch keys. Aware of them, to become aware of how important they are to you in order to transform you to live your best life. Because once you discover your kingdom, anything that you ask for shall be given to you, right? That's what I found to be true.
I want to ask you one other question. I want to come back to it because you made a great point earlier. You know, you've been in the beauty industry 17 years, beauty spa in Tampa, helping people to be healed and be whole. And sometimes it's in helping people with the outer beauty that they even get healed inwardly. But you talked about how the economy affected your business back in 2009, 2008, when we went through that recession before. How are you navigating now as a single woman? You're still an entrepreneur, you know, when everything is kind of shut down. How are you navigating this time? I think that's a good word for other persons who are watching now who are entrepreneurs trying to navigate this season as well. What are you doing to maintain your sanity and your business during this season?
Although I haven't had a lot of business over the past almost 6 to 8 weeks now, I still get up and I go as if I do. Because I live as if it is happening now. And when this is all said and done, it's gonna be an amazing outcome for those who have faith. And there were many a times, even in 2007, 8, and 9, that I didn't have a lot of money to pay the rent or to meet payroll, but you still did that with faith. And the stores still kept opening. And so fast forward to COVID-19, this era we're in right now, I still get up every morning at 4 o'clock. I do my meditations, I work out, I go into work. Even though the state has shut down the spa industry, I go to work, I go in as if I am working. I'm waiting for somebody to come in because they're waiting to come see me as much as I want to see them. And so when the doors open, I'll be ready. So I act as and I give thanks and gratitude for what is, because it just blocked right now. And when the doors come down, the curtain's going to come down. It's not going to last forever. They'll be coming in.
That's outstanding. That's beautiful. I want to close out. We almost at our end. Eric, I'm gonna let you close us out. I asked this question earlier to Vanessa, and I want to ask you because I think it's so important. You know, you talked about in your 30s, right before you turned 35, you went through a very abusive relationship, abusive marriage that you have regrets for. But when you talk about your boyfriend now, I see the gleam in your eyes. I see the smile. You make the investment. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You speak from a perspective of healing and excitement. And
Yes.
when you say things like "I'm making an investment," that lets us know it's not just casual. So I want to talk about. I want to let you close out. How did you get to that point? Because it's so hard, as Vanessa said earlier, and even as Dr. Marnita said earlier. Sometimes it's hard to let go of things. How did you get from 35-year-old Erica to where you are right now, with the peace, with the excitement, with the smile, helping him pick his stuff out on show, wanting him to look good, being free again? How did you walk in that freedom? How did you find it?
So my life scripture is, and we know all things work together for good for those who love God and are his called. I love him and I am his called. And so I knew, even in the midst of the drama and the abuse, I knew that all things were going to work together for good. And I would leave myself notes in my Bible, and on that page of Romans 8:28, I left myself a note and it said, "It won't always be this way." And so I chose hope even in the midst of that man could have killed me. Like literally, physically could have killed me. And I chose hope and I chose to believe God, even when things looked crazy. And so when I came out on the other side of it, what I had was a testimony. I gave him the Cosby steak dinner on a garbage can lid and said, "Here, God, bless my presentation." And God said to me, "No, this is not what I have for you. Do you know?" And so I chose to know. And when I came out on the other side of it, as I said, I had a testimony. And so now you gave me this second chance, God. What am I going to do with it? And so I had to learn, first of all, who I was. I'm, oh, we need another show. As women, we are not complete if we have a husband. We are not complete if we have children. I don't have a children. I don't even have the parts to carry a child. And so, um, and so I had to figure out, you know what? I'm complete in God. I'm complete in Christ. But why? Because He said. And that has to be enough. And it has to be easy. It has to be a simple thing where we choose we make the decision to live. We make the decision to love. We make the decision. It's all action, right? So, I had to choose to do that. And I had to remember I am me without Him. And so even if we've been in this thing for a long time now, and even if we never get married, I'm okay with that. I'm me with or without Him. I am blessed of God with or without Him. And so we have to get to a point where we believe that within ourselves, and we know that within ourselves, and we're able to exude that when we are with other people and around other people. And so it's happy. It's me being blessed. It's me being happy. It's me knowing that all things are going to work together for good.
Well, I concur with all the comments that are coming in literally now from all over the world. We can't even post them fast enough. Our aim is to give people a daily dose of hope, and you three have absolutely helped us to fulfill that mission today in this broadcast. And so I just want to thank you,
Thank you.
Vanessa, Erica, Dr. Marnita. Thank you for sharing your stories and your insights. Thank you for being strong and healed and resolute with so much promise and potential and faith. And you've inspired me. You've inspired so many others who are watching, and helped us to unpack and begin a process of healing and wholeness. And I just thank God for all of you. You're wonderful. I speak God's blessings on you, that God's going to continue to provide for you throughout the rest of the pandemic, and that everything that you touch, God's going to grant you abundant favor and success because you blessed us. And as we leave here, we're going to all be empowered to divorce our story and marry our truth. And so those who've been watching this segment of Grown and Sexy, I hope you've been inspired to find our completion in Him. If somebody comes into our lives, like Erica says, they'll compliment us, but they won't complete us. Because if we give them power to complete us with their presence, we also give them authority to incomplete us with their absence. And so those who are watching now, I hope you've got a daily dose of hope. I hope you're inspired and encouraged. For those singles over 40, stay grown and sexy. You look good. You're beautifully and wonderfully made, and God's got His hands on you. And we're going to make it through this. We're going to close this broadcast now, but as always, remember this. If you will be good to God, then God will be good to you. You've been watching the Hope TV, Grown and Sexy. Until next time, peace. Thank y'all, ladies. Y'all.